Georgia over Bama from last year, and now we're getting ready for some football. And joining us now, he's in the College Football Hall of Fame. Oh, he coached at Georgia, coached at Marshall, coached at Kansas State when little Minucci was there. And we always love having him on, especially in the summer. Coach Jim Donnan now on the right to the guest line here on Fox Sports 910 Phoenix. Coach Rocket Minucci, happy Thursday. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good. Glad to hear you guys' voice. How's it going out there?
Doing all right. We're just trying to stay cool. You know, we still got about 110 degrees here. No humidity, though, only about 20%, so we're okay. How about you out there in the Carolinas?
Yeah, we're not really we're not doing much better, but it's not much we can do about it. But fortunately, they got these indoor places they can practice a little bit, so that helps. But they put them about half and half, I guess. But you know, one of the things that's all around here, everybody's excited about college football, but I guess you guys are excited about going to the Big 12, right?
Yeah, I think that's probably a safe bet. I think most people are. But as you know, here in Phoenix, so many people from out of state, they're from all over. So I think the fact that USC and UCLA and all the teams all going all different places is it's interesting because no one really knows what's going to happen, especially with the last four schools. But what is the perception for you being an SEC guy, as long as you have, that these conferences are getting blown up, and one in particular being the Pac-12?
Yeah, I just think it's just almighty TV dollar. I mean, you got to protect your rights as a school, and the trend is you got to have somebody to pay for all these other sports. I mean, football's king, and you got to get some TV revenue, and these schools that the Pac-12's had the chance to get it, and they haven't been able to. So you can't blame these different universities for moving around. But I think the one thing that I don't like about it, all these people griping about NIL and all the schools and about the players making money, and then that's what they're trying to do, make money for the university. So all of it the way it is. I mean, I'm happy the players are, and I hope these schools can kind of settle down and get some really good conference play and continue to, have football on top like it's been for so long.
Coach, you think you see these conferences expanding, and we're going to have the 12-team playoff starting next year. At this point, as things are growing more so with the conferences, how soon do you see we expand the playoffs even more so within the next 5 or 6 years?
Well, they're certainly going to have to look at it because all of a sudden, with what you've seen go to the Big Ten and what you've seen go to the SEC, you don't want. I mean, you can't give an automatic bid to the Pac-12 now with those four teams. I mean, nothing against them, but you've got to realign this how it's going to be. I don't know how they're going to figure it out, but there's going to have to be some complete renovation of this 12-team playoff, and more than likely, you're probably going to see in the next 7 or 8 years the top 50 teams in one group, and then 16-team playoff probably.
Well, that's what I was going to allude to. You may have 30 teams per conference, maybe 2 or 3 super conferences. Kind of break it down like the National Football League does. Maybe AFC and NFC have the North, South, East, West, et cetera, et cetera. But in reference to all the movement going on, what are some of the – we see a lot of pros out there with this, Coach. I'm like you. But what are some of the cons that you would guard against or advise as some of the pundits, or I should say some of the powers that be, that are putting all this together?
Yeah, my major concern is with the non-football players, the travel involved. You can get on a plane as a football team and charter, and you're okay, and you get back the same day. But all of a sudden, you got UCLA going to Rutgers to play softball, and how many stops do they have to make to get back, commercial, whatever it might be. And I just think it really puts a bind on these Olympic sports. And I thought Chip Kelly from UCLA had a good idea, but it won't happen. He said, hey, football teams ought to have a conference and then let the other sports figure out some conference where they could play a little bit closer together. But I'm all for these other sports. Minucci knows I played tennis in college. I'm a great fan of all of our sports around here. And you see the ACC going after Stanford.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of teams in the ACC be mad when Stanford comes in there and wins all those Olympic sports. I promise you that.
And speaking of the ACC, why is, I know the money aside, but why is FSU so motivated, Florida State that being, to get out of the ACC? They'd all but grease the skids, and they've got basically one foot out the door and the other following to go somewhere else aside from the ACC.
Well, you got to find somebody that wants them, first. And the problem is, which I'm sure most of your fans out there know, 2014 they signed a grant of rights with the ACC where through 2036, where they gave up all their rights for marketing, streaming, everything, and it's just killing them that a team like Vanderbilt or UCF in their own state, Vanderbilt in the SEC is making $40 million more a year than without near the football program. And, UCF's coming on. They're going to be making a lot in the Big 12. So, but the problem is they got to pay an exorbitant amount to get out of that bill, that grant of rights. And I don't know that they can do that. They're trying to find some way to do it. But I don't really know at this point. I don't know that SEC's looking to expand anymore. And Big Ten, probably not. Maybe they could go to the Pac-12. I'm not sure.
Coach, what about Clemson? Where do you see them? You see them doing something similar to Florida State, or are they going to just sit tight?
They got the same issue. I mean, they'd have to be in bed together and somebody take both of them, which would be a great football move. But then you got UNC and Virginia, which, bring a lot of academic and non-revenue sports along with their basketball, probably go Big Ten, but Big Ten's running out of room now, picking up Washington and Oregon. So it's just a real complete cluster at this point to me.
Coach, I'm just surprised that they're just not doing kind of what Chip Kelly said and do a football conference or a basketball conference and then let the non-revs, because geographically here in the Pac-12, they can't be traveling to the East Coast and vice versa. That's just, it as someone who's worked in athletics as long as you have. They can't afford it. The money's not there.
Yeah, I mean, the Washington and Oregon were asking for like $10 million extra just to pay for their travel. But I think just look at West Virginia when they tried to get in the ACC and then couldn't, and they got in the Pac-12. The Big 12. I mean, they got to go for 2 days and 14 nights to get anywhere to play anybody in the Big 12, and it's worked out okay for them financially, but they haven't done that well in football. But the one thing that you got with Oklahoma and Texas coming to our league, they're both their programs football wise have been down. But last year Texas won the all around championship for the whole country, and then this year they came in close, and then Oklahoma won like 3 national championships in like softball and gymnastics and all that. So they bring a lot to the SEC as far as the TV network that the SEC has, that covers all these other sports. And people around here like to watch all of them. I mean, if you got a daughter playing volleyball or a son that's playing tennis, you can watch it just like you do football on that SEC network.
So, Coach, let's talk a little football. The Georgia Bulldogs had that.
Yeah, let's talk some football.
Let's talk some football, man. Them Bulldogs back there, that phenomenal defense. Stetson Bennett, your quarterback's gone. Most of that defense is gone. What is Kirby Smart looking to do to try to retain that national championship this year? Who are some of the new stars on board?
Well, I think it's more of a reload.
3 minutes.
Maybe from 2022 to 2023 than it was in 2022. We really had a lot of draft choices leave us 2 years ago, and particularly in the D. But last year we were a little stronger offensively. Defense was down a little bit, but our defense this year is going to be stronger than Aunt Mary's breath, man. I'm telling you, our defense is really, really good. A lot of starters back, some really good. They've had good recruiting, and then have got some really good freshman players. And the one thing, I'm not sure how you do it out there with Arizona and Arizona State, but a lot of these kids that sign now come in January. So they're able to come in as freshmen and practice in the spring. And we got an inordinate amount of really good players that are helping our depth that, maybe not starters, but are going to help our defense a lot quicker because they were here to practice. So some guys
2 minutes
about Javon Bullard's a really good safety for us. Michael Williams, a good player up front on defense. And then offensively, we had 3 of the top 5 preseason all-conference linemen picked on our team. So I think anytime you got a good O-line, you start out with a lot of really good talent. Certainly quarterback, we got to replace a really good player, and we've got a couple guys there. But I would say with our schedule, I mean, what we got to guard against is complacency and injuries, but we got a good shot at being right there again.
And I got to tell you, Coach, I'm following your recruiting. Recruiting has not waned at all. You guys are picking up some 4-stars, some 5-stars all over the place. I saw a couple guys flip. They are going to Georgia. So that's got to be the big part of that, not getting complacent from the recruiting side, I would imagine.
Right. They're ranked number 1 right now for 2024. And, of course, I don't know how these rankings go. You know, I don't know how high Minucci was ranked, but he would have been a 5-star in today's stuff. But,
1 minute. 1 minute.
You never know about it. But I guarantee you, they got some really good young players coming in here. And one thing I like about it for all these kids, I mean, they got a chance after this is the 3rd year for NIL. These kids are marketing themselves and got agents. So you see a lot of guys, you lose some because here's the thing, and this is reality. If I'm the coach, it's hard for me to pay a guy that's more than a player that's played for 2 or 3 years. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
So I think sometimes these kids take the money and instead of looking at the development they're going to get in some of the better programs. But you got some kids getting $50,000 a month, man. I mean, that's more than Minucci makes. I mean, that's unbelievable.
It's more than I made my entire professional football career, Coach. What are you talking about?
Right. I mean, the guy gets $2.2 million for 4 years if he sticks around.
Yeah.
I mean, and he's never played it down. I mean, how's that morale in the locker room with a guy that's making $10,000 a month? I mean, it's tough.
Oh man, Coach, we know it's getting close, so thanks for coming on with us early, and we'll look forward to catching up with you in
let's
September.
do it again. Let's do it again after we get rolling, and it's always good to talk to you. Appreciate you calling. See
Thanks,
ya.
Coach. Appreciate it. That's Jim Donnan joining us.